Shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai. Double honor to the elder, shalom to the Akim, pushing the truth in the four corners and truth sincerity. Shalom to the Akwath out there listening, being true doors of Zion, shalom. So, my last video, I spoke about Israelites I spoke about so-called blacks and Africans being two separate people. And that's biblical, right? We're not indigenous Africans. We were Jews dwelling in the west coast of Africa, right? Some of our people were already in this land. It speaks about that in 2 Ezra 13, right? About our people that came from the Syrian captivity, so-called uh, Native Americans, Native Americans, Salakia, Latinos, and Salakia, the Reubenites, Seminole Indians, right? Salakia, so-called Seminole Indians, Native Americans, and so-called Latino. They were already in this side of the earth. You know, they left the Syrian captivity and they came over here, right, during the time of the Assyrians. And like I mentioned last video too, it was a split between the two kingdoms, northern and southern. So the northern tribes went into captivity under the Assyrians, and during that same time, the southern kingdom went under captivity to the Babylonians, right? So the northern kingdom fled, came over here to the Americas, and the southern kingdom was still in the land of Judea, right? Well, still over in the east, right? But back to my point, we're not indigenous Africans, right? So the indigenous Africans are Hamites. They're descendants of a man named Ham. Let's go to Genesis, right? Chapter 7 and verse 13. It says, in the self same day, into Noah and Sem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah and Noah's wife, and the three wives of his sons with them into the ark. So the flood happened because it was wickedness on the earth, right? And Noah and his three sons and all four of their wives were saved. So Noah had his three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So-called blacks, we come from Shem. Ham, that's where the so-called Africans come from, right? And we're going to get this out of the Zondervan Vance Bible Dictionary. Zondervan Vance Compact Bible Dictionary. The definition of Ham, right? It says Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. Like I said, Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their 4 wives. So it's 8 people that lived through the flood. So this corroborating what the Bible says. All right. One of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. So all these 4 different nations come from Ham. But it said not the Negroes, right? The Negroes come from Shem. We're a whole different race of people than the children of Ham. That's why a lot of them can't stand us, right? Because they know we're not the same people. Though some of them have woolly hair, some of them may look like us, they're not the same people, right? And Ham is disgusting. They drink blood. Them Hamites drink blood. They be bathing themselves in cow piss and all types of stuff, right? It's not the same people. Now the people with certain tribes in Nigeria, right, in Ghana, Benin, Togo, a lot of them are our people, right? Some of our people in Congo, right? But as far as the Ethiopia, and some of our people are Ethiopia too, because it said Jeremiah 11. Let's get that Jeremiah 11. Some of our people are dwelling in Ethiopia, but they're not indigenous. They're not indigenous Ethiopians. They scattered Israelites, right? Or it might be Isaiah. It might be Isaiah 11. I think it's Isaiah. Right? This is Isaiah 11:11. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people that shall be left from Assyria and Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar, from Hanath and from the lands of the sea. And Cush is the Ethiopians. Let's go to the Bible and match that up with the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. All right, so I'm going to read the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary once again. It's like, it says, Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of the 8 persons that lived through the flood, he became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Now let's go to the Bible. Right? Where is it? I just had it. Yeah, this is Genesis 10:6. It says, and the son of Noah, Cush, Mitzrayim, and Phut, and Canaan. Right? These are the same 4 names that's mentioned here in the Zondervan's Bible Dictionary. The Egyptians, Mizraim, right? Mizraim is the Egyptians. Cush is the Ethiopians, right? Phut is the Libyans and the Canaan, right? So it corroborates what the Bible says, right? So the Ethiopians are Cush. We are not Cush, but some of our people are scattered throughout the land of Cush, right? Read that again in Isaiah 11:11. It shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again a second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from Pathros and from Cush, right? Moses said Egypt also. So our people are scattered throughout the 4 corners, right? Let me get that in Ezekiel. Our people have been scattered. And the Most High is going to recover our people from the 4 corners. This is Ezekiel 36:24. It says, and I will take you from among the heathen and gather you out of all countries and will bring you into your own land. Right? So our people is in all countries. We've been scattered through the 4 corners. But we are not indigenous so-called Africans. We're not Hamites. That land is the land of Ham. Right? Let me get that in Psalms 105. Or 103, Psalms 103. That landmass is not called Africa. It's called the land of Ham. And I'm going to show you with the Bible. Right? It might be 104. It might be 104, then 105 also. It might be 105 and 106. It's back-to-back chapters. I know that for sure. Yeah, this book of Psalms 105 and verse 23. It says, Israel also came into Egypt, talking about when we went to Egypt during the Exodus period. Salaki. It started with Joseph, but we were also in Egypt during the Exodus period when Moses was born and the Lord used Moses to deliver us out of Egypt. It said, Israel also came into Egypt, and Jacob sojourned in the land of Ham. Right? So land masses are named after the people that are in the land. That's why our land mass is Israel. right? The land of Israel, because it's named after the people, the person who inhabit the land, right? So that landmass where Hamites dwell is called the land of Ham. It's simple. It's not as complex as these Edomites make stuff, right? It's actually simple. Now, verse Psalms 106 and where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Yeah, this is Psalms 106. I'm gonna start at 19. It says they made a calf in Horeb and worshipped the molten image, and you know that's referring back to when Moses went to get the commandments. The Israelites they got all their gold, they melted their gold, and they made a golden calf to worship. Right, went straight into idolatry. Right after the Lord delivered us from Egypt, part of the whole Red Sea for us to walk through. Right, part of the whole sea without our own eyeballs. We seen this with our own eyeballs. And right after the Lord did this, our people went into idolatry, right? And worship and made a golden calf out of gold and worshipped it, knowing that Moses was up in the mountain getting the commandments, talking to the Lord, right? But this is referring back to that. This Psalms 106 and 19. They made a calf in Horeb and worshipped the molten image. Thus they changed their glory into a similitude of an ox that eateth grass. They forgot God their Savior, which had done great things in Egypt, wondrous works in the land of Ham, and terrible things by the Red Sea. So the Lord delivered us out of the land of Ham, right? So indigenous, that's why we say indigenous Africans are not our people. That's a totally different line. Now let's go back to Genesis. Genesis 10, right? Genesis 10 and 5. It says, by these were the hours of the Gentiles divided in their lands, every one after his tongue, after their families and their nations. All right, so everybody was divided. Like I read earlier in Deuteronomy 32. He divided the nations. Right? And gave everybody their own land. Everybody had their own language. Everybody had their own God. Our God was the Most High, the true power, right? Not an image, not a something built that couldn't move, that couldn't defend itself. We worship the true God that actually was making moves, that actually showed power on the earth, that actually tormented. Like it said in the book of Genesis, the king. I forgot what king he was, but when Abraham went to dwell in this land, Abraham told him that Sarah was his sister, so they wouldn't kill him. And the Most High came in that man's dream during the night. Feel me? We talking about that God. We talking about the God that flooded the whole earth. This is the God that we worship, right? He gave everybody a different God. All these nations, they give different God, but we worship the true God, right? The God that's alive, right? This is Genesis 10 and 6. And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. And now this is going to run down all the descendants of Canaan and of Ham, right? And the border, I'm jumping down to 19. And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, and as thou comest to Gerar and got unto Gaza, and as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Amad and Zorb, even unto Lasha. So Sodom and Gomorrah were Hamites. They were so-called Africans. They were indigenous Africans, right? The city that the Lord destroyed with fire and brimstone, they were so-called Africans, right? So you see it said Sidon. right? Like I mentioned in earlier in Matthew, Yahweh Shah speaking of the lady in the coast of Zidon, Tyre and Zidon, right? These are Hamites, right? I'm trying to find Tyre. Salak. Let me get Tyre. Tyre. Come on, bro. And Salak. Mm, right. So this is 2 Samuel 24:7. And they came to and they came to Salak and came to the stronghold of Tyre and all the cities of the Hivites and of the Canaanites, and they went out to the south of Judah, even to Beersheba. Right? So these Tyre and Zidon, they're Hamite nations. Right? They're Hamite nations. That's one thing you have to know. Right? So there's a separation between us and them. We're not the same people. Right? So let's go to Genesis 11, where it breaks down Shem lineage, the genealogy of Shem. So this Genesis 11 and 10, it says, these are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begot Arphaxad 2 years after the floods. So it's about to run down all the names of the descendants of Shem. And we're going to go to down, we're going to jump down to 23. It says, and Sharag lived after he begot Nahor 200 years and begot sons and daughters. And Nahor lived 29 years and begot Terah. And Nahor lived after he begot Terah 119 years and begot sons and daughters. And Terah lived 70 years and begot Abram. So Abram, we know Abram's name was changed to Abraham. So this breaking down, and it's going to go down to Abraham, and we're going to jump to Isaac, then Jacob, then the 12 patriarchs of the descendants of Jacob, which are the chosen people. That's the chosen line. Like the Lord made all the nations, like he made 18 nations created, and he chose this one specific line, right? And everybody doesn't come from Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? Everybody doesn't even come from Abraham. We just read Ham. He's not even a descendant of Abraham. He's a descendant of Noah, but Abraham he's not a descendant of. So how's they say all nations is blessed through Abraham, and they try to twist it, meaning like everybody on the earth didn't come from Abraham. First off, right? And that's talking about they're going to be blessed because once the righteous in authority, the people going to rejoice, right? Let me get that just real quick, just to make that clear. Proverbs 2:29 and 2. It says, when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice, but when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn. So they're going to be blessed through the righteous being in authority, right? People are going to rejoice once the righteous is in authority, right? Because things are going to flourish. The earth is going to be set back in order, how things supposed to be. And when things are back in order, everything is going to be naturally run, right? Everything is going to be in its natural position. The men going to be happy. The women going to be happy. The animals going to be happy, right? Everything is going to have balance, right? We're not going to have GMO foods. We're not going to be poisoning people, poisoning food, right? Everything is going to be natural. The herbs, you're going to be able to access the herbs that you need, right? To heal your body. Not even heal your body's going to be healed, right? Because we're not going to be putting poisonous things in our bodies, right? And we're not going to have these damn demons putting poison in our food, right? So the earth is going to be blessed through Abraham's seed. Yes, because when the righteous are on authority, the people rejoice, right? So back to, not to get off topic, but yeah, it shows you the separation between between Noah's sons, right? Ham and his descendants are not the same as Shem and his descendants, right? And even in the sons of Shem, it goes down to Abraham, Terah, Nahor, right? It's a specific line, but even Terah, Nahor is not chosen. It's Abraham, right? Let's see what else we got. What else we got? What's this? Genesis. I got that already. All right, this is the book of Exodus 11 and verse 7. 11 verse 7. Salak. I'm gonna start at 6. And there shall be a great cry throughout all the land of Egypt, such as there was none like it, nor shall there be like it any more. But against any of the children of the Israel shall not a dog move his tongue against man or beast, that they may know how that the Lord doth put a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So the Lord put a difference between the Egyptians, which are Hamites, and Israel. We're not the same people, man. They're Hamites, we're Israelites, right? And even Yahushua rejected this woman of Tyre and Zidon. I'm going to read it again. This is Matthew 15 and 21. Then Jesus, Yahushua, went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Zidon. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord, thou son of David. My daughter is grievously vexed with a devil. But he answered her not a word. And his disciples came and besought him, saying, Send her away, for she crieth after us. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So he told her, I'm only sent to the Israelites, right? You're a Hamite, right? I wasn't sent for you, all right? All right, and that's the Messiah. That's the Messiah. What else I got? All right, let's get this in Zephaniah. The book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 12. It says, Ye Ethiopians also, ye shall be slain by my sword. So the Lord said the Ethiopians are going to be slain by his sword, right? But I thought it just said in Isaiah 11:11 that he's going to recover the remnant from Cush. Right? That's because Israelites were scattered throughout all these nations and through all these countries. I'm going to read Isaiah 11:11 again. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again a second time. What was the first time? Egypt. We're talking about the second time, the second Egypt. To recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, from Egypt, and from Panthros, and from Cush. Right? But here in Zephaniah it said, Ye Ethiopians also, ye shall be slain by my sword. Right? Because the indigenous Hamites, who are Ethiopians, Somalians, right? They shall be slain by the sword of the Lord, man. They're not his people. Ethiopian, Somalian, indigenous, they're not his people. Our people are scattered in those lands, but for the most part, they're not our people, man. They Hamites. What's that other So like, I'm gonna get that. I think it's also in Zechariah. Zechariah 14. Yeah, Zechariah 14. Yeah, this is Zechariah 14 and 21. It says, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts. And every time you see Jerusalem and Judah, or Judah and Israel together in the same sentence, it's talking about northern and southern kingdom. Judah representing the southern kingdom, Jerusalem representing the northern kingdom. Or in this context, Judah and Jerusalem, Judah representing the southern kingdom and Jerusalem. Oh, Salaga, Israel. They say Judah, Israel also. Israel representing the northern kingdom, right? 10 tribes, so-called Latinos and Native Americans, right? This Zechariah 14:21. Yeah, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judah shall be holiness unto the Lord of hosts, and all that they sacrifice shall come and take of them and see it therein. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Right? There shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. Now let's go to this, back to the Zondervans. Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites. Right? So we just showed you that the Egyptians, is the difference between the Egyptians and Israel. The Ethiopians shall be slain by my sword, and the Canaanites, they shall not enter into the house of the Lord. All right? So it's letting you know that these Hamites, man, they're not the Lord's people. Right? That's why it's such that's why it's such a animosity that they have for us. Because they know we're not the same people. Right? I don't really see nothing concerning Foot, but I'm sure it's the same thing. They are sons of Ham. Foot, which is Libyans. Right? So let's go to, what else we got? Obadiah. Obadiah verse, I'm gonna start at 8. I'm gonna start at 17. I'm gonna start at 15. It says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as they have drunk upon my holy mountain, the holy mountain of Israel, so shall they all the heathen drink continually. Yeah, they shall drink. That cup is a cup of affliction, the cup of slavery, the cup of judgment, right? That we had to drink, that the Most High is going to make them drink. All right? They shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. Verse 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. Right? And the house of Jacob shall be as a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame. So right there, the house of Jacob, and you see house of Joseph. Jacob meaning the southern kingdom, Joseph being the northern kingdom. Right? When you see them together like that. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and they shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord has spoken. That's total extinction for the Edomites, right? They're going to go in slavery for 1,000 years, and then after that, they're going to go extinct. We're going to put them all to death, right? And they shall, like I said in verse 17, they shall be our possession. We shall possess our possessions, right? The Lord created them to be our slaves. And I'm going to prove it. It's the book of Ecclesiastes. He created them to serve us. This going off a little bit, but I just want to, the Spirit just had me say it, so I'm going to just bring it up. There's the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, and I'm going to start at 6. It says, folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in a low place. So folly is dignified, and this foolishness is dignified in this society, and the rich sit in a low place. So those that are spiritually rich, the heirs of the kingdom with the Messiah, they sit in a low place in this society because the wicked are in rule. And the wicked have control of all the resources, all the access to all the resources. So the rich, the heirs of the kingdom with the Lord, they sitting in a low place right now. Right? Verse 7, it says, and I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. So it said, I seen servants upon horses. Horses meaning representing power. Right? When you're on a horse, that represented power, right? He said, I seen servants with power on horses and princes, which Yasha'Allah means princes of the power. So Israel is the English way of saying it. Yasha'Allah is the Hebrew way of saying it, and it means princes of the power, princes of God, right? So this verse says, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth, right? So the princes of God are walking as servants upon the earth, right? Because we've been in captivity. The Lord sent us into captivity for breaking his commandments, right? But it said, I seen servants upon horses, meaning that they're supposed to be serving us, right? And the princes, they basically swap places, right? The princes are walking like they servants, and the servants in power, right? The opposite of what they're supposed to be. Damn, Salaga. I just had this precept in my head. Yeah, I got it. This is Jeremiah 2:14. It says, is Israel a servant? Is he a homeborn slave? Why is he spoiled? Right, so Jeremiah is asking, is Israel a servant? Right, because we act like slaves. We act like good old slaves. You see niggas all up the Edomite ass, right? Like they servants. Like, is he a homeborn slave? That's why he asked that. And it said, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. Right? I actually forgot why I brought that up, but it's a lot. I forgot why I brought that up, but Spirit had me bring it up. All right, Salak. Where was I at? Oh, I was in Obadiah. Yeah, we shall possess our possessions. These people are our possessions. That's what it was called. Law, like how about Shem Shah? These people are our possessions, right? They're servants, right? Salak. Verse 19, Obadiah, verse 19. And they of the south shall possess the mountain Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines. Philistines are Hamites also. And they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites even unto Zarephath. And the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Zarephath, shall possess the city of the south. Right. Let's say we shall possess that of the Canaanites, which is Hamites. Right. Because guess what? It was Hamites that sold us to the so-called white man. It was Hamites. It wasn't us selling our own people. That's another thing they like to say. Now I'm not saying that none of our people at all sold our own people. There were few, but how they trying to spin it is like only your people only sold themselves. Nah. It was indigenous Hamites. It was indigenous Africans, so-called Hamites, that sold Israelites. Right? Them so-called Africans and Ishmaelites, so-called Arab man, they sold us to the white man. That's what the transatlantic slave trade was about. Tribe meaning three. It was Arabs, Africans, and the white man cooperating together to sell and gather up and sell Israelites. Right? So let's go get this out of from Babylon Timbuktu, right? This is Babylon Timbuktu, page 84. It says, in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it had been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves. So we fled into Africa, running from the Romans, right? And a lot of us fled down into Africa. A lot of us fled into the west coast of Africa, right? That's why if you look on the old map of West Africa, is Negro land or the land of Judah, because it was Jews, Southern Kingdom, dwelling over in the land during that time. But guess who came and got us? It was Arabs teaming up with Africans who sold us to Edomites. Right? Let's get that in Joel. This is the last scripture too. Joel chapter 3. And I'm going to start at 3. It says, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. So they sold our young boys for prostitutes, right? Because a lot of them Ishmaelites is damn sodomites. A lot of them demons is sodomites, right? They play all this Allah shit, but a lot of them motherfuckers is damn sodomites, right? It says, and they have cast lots for my people, and given the boy for a harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. They sold a girl for wine, for liquor. Verse 4, it says, yeah, what have ye to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon? So these are Hamites. I just went through the whole spill. Right? Broke it down. It said, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? So the Palestine, ancient time, is the Philistines, which is also Hamites. You know, you read the book of Samuel. Goliath was a Philistine, right? We was warned with the Philistines during the time of David. That's who David killed Goliath, took his head off, right? It says, what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coasts of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head? Because ye have taken my silver and my gold and carried it into your temples, my goodly pleasant things. It's like, the children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians, that ye might remove them far from their border. All right, so he sold the children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem to the Grecians. The Grecians are the Edomites, right? So-called white man, right? They sold us to the damn Grecians, right? And the Palestinians in this context, in this verse, is talking about the Arabs, Salakia. But the ancient Palestine is the Philistines, is Africans, right? But in this verse, it's talking about the Arabs, right? Modern day Palestine, right? Sold us to the Grecians, right? It says that ye might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians, to a people far off, for the Lord Yahweh have spoken it. So the Lord is going to sell your children into our hand, man, and we're going to sell them off, right? So these people is going to be our servants, right, for what they done, right? So-called Africans and Arabs sold us to the so-called white man, and they are not our people, right? These people are not our people. They love to call you brother and all that. Knowing what they did, it's still slavery in it's still Arab countries that got slavery right now to this day, right? The sub-Saharan slave trade they definitely had our people in slavery. It was castrating our people, our men and all that, man. These Arabs not our friends. They not our family, right? Let's see. This is Psalms 83, right? And Psalms 83 is basically a chapter letting you know that we have enemies, and all our enemies teamed up together to basically destroy us, right? That's why you see all of them in our neighborhoods, right? And that's why you see when ICE was going around grabbing people up, see, they never grabbed no Chinese people. They never grabbed no East Indian people. They never grabbed no Arab people. They never grabbed none of these other nations, but who they was grabbing? Latinos and blacks, right? Because what? Jeremiah 50 and 33 said the children of Israel and the children of Judah, the northern and southern kingdom, blacks and Latinos and Native Americans were oppressed together, right? This is Psalms 83 and 1. It says, keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. So that our heathens, not our heathen, these heathen have came together with one consent, right? And they making all types of shit together. Let me look up that word tumult, right? Tumult. These heathen came together, man. Should looking up in the blue letter. A noisy commotion of a multitude, noisy uprising as a mob. Let me look it up in the blue letter. It's like, oh, now I ain't trying to let me use the blue letter. See, it's shit I'm talking about. See, these Edomites, man, they blocking a lot of this knowledge, man. They blocking a lot of this knowledge via the internet. You ever notice that if you comment on Instagram certain shit that go against them, against so-called Jewish people, against the government, they'll block your shit or report your shit. But these Edomites can go in there all day, talk all types of niggas, monkey, and all this crazy shit, and they shit don't get taken down. That's because they controlling it, man. They controlling what's being pushed out here. And they hiding the true information. That's why the Lord told us to hold fast that which we have. The people won't have to come to us for the knowledge, since they didn't want to listen. You ain't gonna be able to find it on the internet. This song, this is tumult. It says to murmur, growl, roar, cry loud, mourn, rage, sound, make noise. Right? To be boisterous. And that's why they had these UN meetings. These UN meetings. Ain't no so-called black people in them UN meetings. or no so-called Latinos, or no so-called Native Americans. And I ain't talking about the $5 Indians. I'm talking about the real Native Americans, right? It says, for lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thee, against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation. So that's their whole goal, to cut us off from being a nation, right? That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So these other nations, they see the curses going on in our community, and what they do, they add fuel to the fire. They had these bot accounts. They see, so-called black men and black women going at it on the internet, and they add these bot accounts to throw flames on the fire, right? Or they'll see, so-called black people and Latino people having a little rift. They'll throw flames on the fire. Use these bots to throw flames on the fire, right? These agents, right? The stoke the fire to have it blow up, right? Because they all consenting together. And I did a video like a couple months ago about it being found out that these bot pages is connected to India, South Asia, and all these different foreign companies, these bots, man, because these people working together, these heathen working together, right? Salaya. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more of remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And it's about to let you know who. The tabernacles of Edom was a so-called white man. That's why it's important that you know who these nations are, right? Because it's telling us Israelites that these people are against us. They plotting on us, right? And if you thinking everybody, God loves everybody and everybody your friend, you ignoring the clear enemies that the Lord set up, right? And that the Lord got, right? It says, the tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites, who are the Arabs, right? So it's the white man, the Arabs, right? The tabernacles of Edom and the Ishmaelites of Moab, which are the Chinese, right? You see all these people in our neighborhood, right? You see all these people, right? And the Hagarenes, which are Africans, I believe, Gabal and Ammon. The Ammon are the so-called Japanese. And Amalek, which are the so-called Jewish people, right? They're Amalekites. They're not Jews. They are Amalekites. They're descendants of Esau, right? It tells you that. It shows you descendants of Esau in Genesis 36, right? The Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Once again, the so-called Africans. Once again, indigenous Africans. These other nations are plotting against us, man. And we're not Hamites. We're not the same people as the Hamites, so-called Africans, right? That's why, what's the brother name? The one that Dr. Umar always, Marcus Garvey, believing like all Africans, we all one. No, it's not. We not all one, right? Certain people in Africa, that's not our people, right? Now the people in Caribbean, yeah. South America, a lot of them is, right? But Africa is a big country. It's a big continent with many countries, right? All of them, it's like all of them is not our people, right? And what else? Did I have anything else? Let me see. I think that was everything. And this is why they don't want you to know the Old Testament. Because you'll know who is who. They don't want you to know who is who. They want to confuse everybody. And what it say in 1 Corinthians 14, the Most High is not the author of confusion. So that's Satan, man. So with that, Give all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh by Shem Yahushua. Double honors to the elders. Shalom to the Akim, pushing the truth in the four corners and truth sincerity. Shalom to the Akwaf out there listening, being true to Zion. Shalom.